reason I decided to start this video and the fan started to run. And it's not my fan, so I cannot control it. Okay, having said that, welcome back to my channel. I've only been able to talk now because I quickly ate breakfast because I had an appointment at 8:30 somewhere a little bit far from where I live. So I grabbed the car, and I don't usually like to drive, but I'm getting better. But basically I drove there, then I went back to work, and now it's time to cook dinner. So it's 7:30. I've just now put my I put my squid in some water so I can defrost it. I'm going to use some rice and some wakame seaweed. And I'm going to make rice. My parents are going to eat with us, so I'm going to make four portions like I usually do, but the difference is that I won't have leftovers because they are going to be eating with us. So yes, I'm going to do that, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Pantry Challenge and what I'm doing this version of the Pantry Challenge and what I'm changing, because I think it's important to explain a little bit of the rules that I'm doing so far. But first, let me just make sure that the squid is defrosting so I don't eat at 10 p.m. For starters, I want to talk about the rules for a successful Pantry Challenge. Although there are lots of ways to tackle a Pantry Challenge, the reality is there are no really defined rules unless you want to be strict. I, for one, believe that a little bit of strictness in the Pantry Challenge helps you get better results, because if you don't have a lot of rules, you'll end up buying more stuff in the supermarket and not doing anything. On the other hand, one of the things that I struggle most when doing Pantry Challenge without buying anything new in the supermarket is fresh produce and fruit. So I understand if some people feel that this Pantry Challenge might be too restrictive, and that's why I want to tell you that you don't need to be that restrictive. It's just a matter of personal preference. So for example, this time I'm not going to do that, but I'll talk about it a little bit later. Talking about the rules in itself, I think there are 3 important things to consider when doing a Pantry Challenge. First of all is, how long will your Pantry Challenge be? So the last time I made it, I think it was 4 weeks, so 1 month, but you can make it shorter or longer. One thing that I regularly do is to have 1 week Pantry Challenge. It's just a way to use up what I have, and mainly in the fridge, because it's something that gets bad more quickly, and I know that I have a lot of food, so it's a week where I can focus at least on getting rid of everything that I have in the fridge that might go bad. You'll need to define how long you want to do this. I feel like doing 1 month can be really useful if you are doing this for the first time, but it's your call. The second rule to give yourself in terms of the Pantry Challenge is whether or not you are going to the supermarket. And by going to the supermarket, you can do 2 things. You can define a budget, or you can define whether or not, for example, I only buy protein if I don't have any other ingredient that can give me protein. I think that's reasonable, but you can also keep a budget, a very low budget, very different from the one that you usually have, so you can at least make sure that you don't pass that budget. And the third rule is defining whether or not you are going to order takeout. If you are trying to get rid of stuff in the kitchen, probably you are also thinking, well, I want to use up everything more quickly, so I'm not going to order takeout. But, for example, in this era that we are crossing right now, I guess, in the first lockdown I didn't order much food, and I guess it was not in the first lockdown, it was more during this year's first pantry challenge. I didn't order much food, but for this month I've decided to order takeout, and I don't give myself any restrictions about it. It's just mainly because Portugal is in emergency state, and all the restaurants are closed from 1 p.m. and basically 1 p.m. is when you eat lunch in Portugal, so it's a problem. So we have decided that we are going to support those those restaurants, because not only we enjoy their food, but it's also a way for us to contribute in some way, basically. Okay, so these are the 3 rules that you want to define when starting a pantry challenge. If that way you can have those rules and follow those rules, and not think, well, I'm going to the supermarket and I'm just going to buy this and this, and not thinking whether or not it aligns with your pantry challenge. At least if you have a budget of X euros, you know that at least you are going to just spend that amount of money. So it's okay. It doesn't matter whether or not it's food that you need or could live without, but it's okay, it's your rule, doesn't matter. And I'm going to also share what I've decided for this pantry challenge, what are my rules. So in terms of duration, I'm thinking that will be about 3 weeks. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to do those 3 weeks, because I might go away. It depends, but 3 weeks. I'm sticking with the budget of 5 euros to the supermarket. And one other thing that it's not really a rule, but I'm accepting food from my parents, because they have food from people that give them food that other people give them. So basically, when you are living in a small town, people give you stuff because they already have too much stuff. So I accept that food, and without any restrictions, because I don't believe in rejecting food. And plus, my mom also sometimes brings me leftovers, because my parents don't always eat at home, so we are always here, so we can eat those leftovers. And the third rule is that, yes, I'm going to order takeout. I think that I talked a little bit about that. I think you know my reasoning why, and that's what I'm going to stick to. These are my 3 rules. Hopefully it will inspire you to make your own pantry challenge. I've actually shared a free 5-day pantry challenge. It's just something a little bit fun and outside of the box, so you can start out a tiny pantry challenge without overwhelming yourself. And now I'm going to be making my squid rice. I'm going to show you, but I will say goodbye now, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!